Well, I know you always like an opportunity to play football, but this week you got a chance to win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. How important is that for the program and for the senior class?
Really, what you do is you just gotta channel. Everything's got to go towards operating at a real high level fundamentally, and you look at it the way you have to play blocks, how well you have to block to be able to tackle well, and then the same thing to be able to, to be highly productive when it comes to one-on-ones on the outside, and that's where your focus has to be. Now, it doesn't mean the student body down the hallway, they aren't excited about, the other things that are going on. You just want to make sure where we are is dialed in on playing good football.
So keeping focus. But with that, do you have former teammates who reach out to you, guys you went to the academy here with and said, hey, let's get it back here?
Yeah, you do. Yes. To answer your question, yes, you do.
And just from a kind of a school spirit kind of factor, people reaching out to you, everyone here, the professors, everyone on campus getting excited about this game. What does that do for the program?
Well, I mean, you like that there's interest when there is. Hopefully it's now it should never be coerced or forced. That's got to be what comes out of somebody's own chest cavity, and yet also not to lose context in terms of why the school's here, why the men and women, why we're here for the sake of the cadets.
How does Kelvin Hopkins compare to some of the other Service Academy quarterbacks you've seen in recent years?
Yeah, really a good player. I think just good movement. Runs forward and has completed a good number of balls too, especially down the field.
And when you've talked about the defensive overhaul you guys went through over the offseason, how much of that was geared toward seeing teams out of the gun and being able to make those adjustments?
Maybe a little bit. I can't say none. A little bit. I wouldn't say it was anything that was drastic.
I mean, what kind of principles would be different this year than going into this game a year ago?
Well, you hope more than principles. You just fundamentally, you got to be really good fundamentally. Anytime you play a team that does a good job of running the football, you got to be really good, I think, especially with your pad level. And then the other part, just because of the one-on-ones on the outside, you got to win some one-on-ones when a ball's in an air, too.
Players have talked about maybe some simplification. Maybe their jobs are a little more defined. Was that a goal also to...
I think you're always looking to do that, even offensively, in terms of making it clear where to line up or a blocking pattern. I think you're always, anytime there's communication or language involved with the formation, you're always doing that. And I think that's a role as a coach to make sure that is the case, to help the guys when it is time to go play.
And, I saw last night Donald Hammond was back practicing. Where do things stand right now at the quarterback position?
Well, we'll see what ends up happening here. You want a different answer rather than we'll see?
That wasn't we'll see. I mean, do you expect him to travel?
Well, let me use three words. We will see. I mean, it's really, you got to go through practices. You need to be in pads. You need to, some of the ruggedness and get roughed up a little bit. I think that's healthy for every position. I think especially for a quarterback. And I think you got to have it in practice.
And do you subscribe to the mentality that a guy doesn't lose his position because of an injury? Donald Hammond was your starter 3 weeks ago.
That's what's that cost, that subscription a day? Is that a penny, a nickel, or a dime? We aren't spending anything on a subscription. We go play, we look at practice, we look at recent productivity, and it's the fair way to do it for a player, not just a position, but for a team.
And I haven't had a chance to look at film, as we talked about on Saturday night. I assume you have. Did you feel like you were using all parts of your offense to their fullest capability?
Well, I think you're always looking for a little more. You look, we obviously didn't score as much as we needed to. And anytime that's the case, even the previous week, if you look at, I think you always got to be diligent and persistent and finding different ways to continue to develop on a side of the ball, offensively, defensively, and then in each one of your respective special teams units.
Another guy I was very surprised to see on the practice field was Garrett Coppola. Were you surprised how quickly he's able to come back? What's that say about his pain threshold, and could he potentially travel this week?
Well, you gotta prove it in pads, and I'm not saying it's a show me thing for another person so much as it is for the own person. You just got to know. A player needs to know. I'm healthy. I'm ready to rock and roll, and it removes any built-in alibis. When you know in your own heart, hey, I've been tackled, I've been blocked, I've been thumped. I mean, it's just to be a real deal football player. I think you have to have that, and so that's for the sake of a player.
Are you ever surprised by medical advances? That was a clean break in the arm. In years past, that would have been a season. Now he's back on the practice field in 2 weeks.
We got to get on the practice field, and when we physically practice and go run into somebody, and have the physical. I don't want to say extreme, but they are. Pretty impressive collisions that occur to get up and realize, you know what, let's go. Next snap. Wake up the next morning, say, let's go, and that's the real indicator. And when that happens, then a player's telling you, I can sit here and talk, and a player can talk and say they're ready, yet they're telling you if they really are without needing to say anything. So we gotta go mix it up.
And did Nolan Erickson start at the Z, or was that just essentially the mirror image of where he would line up as a tailback?
Good catch there. That's observant. It's we got to see a little bit as we head forward, that way in terms of what that role is.
Is he practicing with the Zs as well as the tailbacks?
I don't know if we necessarily say a guy is only this spot. We don't only say you're a free safety or a strong safety. I think you probably could if you had there may be some programs that can, where you just say, hey, we got 3 5s, we got 3 point guards. I think we always got to find a way where maybe if a guy's got to be a shooting guard along with a point guard to do that. If I think anytime you can expand some versatility, if you can play second base or third base, or and you're a switch hitter and somebody else is a lefty and somebody else is a righty, to be able to utilize some of that versatility, I think you have to do it. I think probably where it comes into play sometimes, especially as later in a season, to be able to do that.
Speaking of tailbacks, would you expect to see a little bit more workload from them? If they're taking away the pitch, then maybe it's a power or it's something off tackle. Do you feel like your tailbacks need to get the ball a little bit more?
Well, I think one of the things you got to be, really in what we do in our approach, you also got to be careful you don't try to jam something into a quarterback or into a tailback. Golly, I don't have it in front of me. Do those guys get less carries than, say, who else would run an offense similar to this one? Who? I'm trying to think here that, where their tailbacks get a lot more carry, with tailback. So I don't, we don't try to necessarily. I think it's, I guess you could say it's a 2-on-1 fast break, and you said, hey, Brent, you're always taking the ball to the basket. I guess you could. Pretty impressive finisher, whether you jam it or go over the top of a guy or go strong to the hoop. There also may be better times where if the other guy has the opportunity to shoot it or lay it in, the percentage of that shot increases a little bit too.